Hundreds of millions of people watch eSports every year, and that number is only growing. Games like League of Legends, Counter-Strike, Overwatch, and many more have provided platforms for competitions to be held globally, attracting various branding opportunities, which has made esports a billion-dollar industry. Add the accessibility of the games played, just like any sport, anyone can join in, and the best make it to the top. But esports offers much more, as gaming itself is already a massive force online, and with that, pro players are not only competitors, but internet personalities with large and active fan bases across various platforms. But in an industry fighting an image crisis, one born out of waves of allegations of misconduct at the hands of those at the very top, more attention has been cast onto those within. In 2020, we saw many people across the board face allegations of misconduct, most notably Fedmyster, whose situation we looked at in the last investigation. However, those stories were just the tip of the iceberg, and in this increasingly warming climate, it's inevitable for more stories to flood the timeline. One of the biggest last year somewhat went undetected in the greater online community. It was only until months later that I actually found out about it after being tipped by a viewer through email. Allegations levied against one of the best competitive esports players sent shockwaves through the gaming world, but the coverage was very much limited to a few esports sites and small coverage by notable mastheads. Nevertheless, we continue our investigation into the world of games and explore the sequence of events that found a former Overwatch champion facing a potentially career-changing event.
Sinatraa One and Matthew Super Delisi.
Sinatra's tearing it up right now.
The guy is a phenomenal freak of nature.
Best player in the world?
Yeah.
The absolute best player in the entire Overwatch League just up and quit to play Valorant.
He is part of a rare breed of player who have been able to compete and win at the highest possible level in multiple games.
A Valorant Pro known as Sinatraa, who is facing some very serious allegations.
Riot announced that star player Jason
handed the Sentinels player a 6-month competitive ban.
Apparently Sinatraa, in their investigation, did not comply, did not cooperate, made a couple of false statements.
It's so sad. It's just so sad.
We live in a world where everything is done online. You want some food? Use an app and it'll be delivered onto your lap in 30 minutes. Going for a big night out? Personal chauffeur at the touch of your finger. Want to watch a film or TV show from inside the warmth of your bed? There are literally a million subscription services for you. But now there are so many ways the digital world is infiltrating our households, and now they can even help keep that hair on your head. The boffins at Keeps have reached out to help fund the mighty BWC content machine with their online subscription service aimed at helping men keep the hair on their heads. Did you know 2 in 3 men experience hair loss by the time they're 35? Well, with the power of science, Keeps offers treatments to help stop hair loss and improve hair growth. With their network of medical experts, Keeps provides you with the best solution to achieve your hair goals, delivered directly to your door, so you don't even have to leave the house. So what are you waiting for? Hair loss stops with Keeps. To get 50% off your first order, go to keeps.com/BWC or click the link in the description. That's keeps.com/BWC. J1 Sinatraa is a former Overwatch League Champion, World Cup holder, and dual MVP. From 2019 into early 2020, he was described as being one of the best Overwatch players in the world. It's clear there's a lot of hype around this guy, and when he decided to make the switch to Valorant, some claimed it would ruin competitive Overwatch. What's certain is that it boosted his profile within the scene, and his support base grew with it. However, moving into 2021, his character was brought into question when his former girlfriend Cleo Hernandez spoke about her experience with him. On March the 10th, she released a tweet linking a Google document detailing her experience with Jay during their relationship. Her tweet with a warning for readers. Over 9 pages, she recounts experiences from her time with Jay and includes various screenshots showing exchanges she had with him and others.
I have avoided talking about any aspects of me and Jay's relationship for over a year. I never spoke about it, mostly because this is horrifying, and also because I've seen the way women in our community are treated when they try to talk about being hurt by prominent figures.
The first allegation levied towards Jay is what I'd call him smearing Cleo, in that she suggests Jay had made negative public statements about her, which had tainted her reputation amongst others.
Not once over the course of our 9-month relationship did I tell him that if he broke up with me, I would kill myself. I know he has told multiple people I said that, but the reality is, I broke up with him because he was ignoring me and because one night when I asked him not to ignore me all day, he laughed at me.
She also says this came after months of fighting, and that she was proud of herself for having the courage to do so.
He told people he felt trapped by my mental health, and so he left. And while he might feel trapped, I am truly sorry for that. That is not why we broke up.
Following the breakup, she says she wanted to get back together with him, suggesting she had grown emotionally dependent on him. However, they fought again, and Jay blocked her after she made a TikTok joking about him dating an underage girl, the streamer Emmyuh, who is still his girlfriend now. She suggests it wasn't malicious or an attempt to insult Emmy, but she understood why it would have been taken the way it was, and was sorry. She also suggests Jay tried to portray her as being crazy, and that her mental health was the reason for these issues.
I was scared I would be alone if I wasn't the perfect, obedient girlfriend.
To round it off, she says Jay was cruel early on in their relationship, and it continued that way till the end. That was just page 1 of the document. So far, it's clear that Cleo has a story to tell, and that she's had a bad experience with what sounds like a toxic relationship. Keeping in mind that they were both 19, the actions after the breakup is reminiscent of high school drama and the furor surrounding a turbulent breakup. However, moving into the next allegation, the main course of her document, it becomes much more serious.
What I want to talk about is the sexual abuse that was prevalent throughout most of our relationship. I never wanted to speak about this, and I still have extreme trauma relating to this topic. But I'm incredibly tired of keeping this secret for him.
The next 2 pages detail her side and experience with the times when she and Jay had sex. She prefaces it with a disclaimer, and likewise, without going into too much detail, I will summarize with what she alleges to have happened. First of all, she says when they first slept together, Jay refused to wear a condom, so she told him he couldn't finish inside her. But he ignored this request, doing so without her consent. As a result, she got an IUD once they started dating because he would continue to refuse wearing protection.
The IUD made it so that sex was very painful for me. Jay knew this and didn't care. I would say it hurt me and I wanted to stop, and he'd say, no, I'm so close. As much as it hurt, I learned that he didn't mind hurting me, and had no problem with leaving me crying in the bathroom while he slept.
She says the pain, the crying, and the disregard for it would continue, and that even after visiting a doctor, there was no acknowledgement from Jay. She also says if she told him early on he would sometimes stop, but that he would guilt trip her, which she says was very common.
If he tried to start something and I said I didn't want to, he would pout and say it was because I thought he was ugly. I wanted someone else. I didn't love him.
Saying no wasn't an option for her, and she needed some sort of excuse for Jake to stop without him guilt-tripping her. She also alleges that sometimes, even when she said no, he would ask for something less sexual and would progress until he forced himself on her, despite her refusing. She says this got to the point she became submissive and just let him do what he wanted to avoid the fight over saying no.
I just let it happen and laid there and stared at the ceiling with him on top of me, his weight crushing my chest. I think about staring up at that ceiling every day.
Following this, she says on a few occasions they would consensually record themselves having sex, and includes the audio from one of these recordings, where she appears to ask Jay to stop.
I'm close.
No.
Close.
No. I don't want it.
She says the video footage shows Jay trying to move her whilst she said no, and that she managed to move away from him when saying she doesn't want to. She also suggests this was an example from one of many occasions where this happened.
I should have fought him more. I should have physically pushed him. But he was my boyfriend. I loved him. I knew if I stood up for myself he'd leave me, so I didn't fight hard enough.
The common theme here is consent, and it's obvious Cleo believes Jay had ignored her right to consent on various occasions, despite the audio showing clear signs she wanted to stop. However, she continues the document with the next allegation of emotional abuse. During their relationship, Cleo says Jay would frequently flip conversations and arguments onto her, and she would apologize as a result. She says even if she suggested Jay was doing anything wrong, she would have to apologize for suggesting he was. As well as this, she included screenshots of various interactions she had with him over text, including ones where she suggests he would keep constant tabs on her location.
What you doing?
Hi, sorry, I at work.
But when look, you're at a random house or something. Why lying?
I working.
Now it says work.
Yes, I am.
But not 15 minutes ago what we're doing.
Baby, I've been at work since 9.
Okay.
I promise. Pinky promise.
You not cheating?
There, Stinky. Is my lift from home to work. I never cheat on you. I die before I cheat on you. Could never find anyone better than you.
Okay, but say you were far from.
I don't know why.
Sad?
It did that last time too when it showed I was far but I was napping. I promise I've been right here, my love.
You like other people. Me cry.
Baby, I only love you.
She says this was just one of many times something like this would happen, and that he wasn't joking in these messages. She says on another occasion, Jay accused her of lying and cheating when her location service showed her away from her house while she was napping after work. Jay's insecurity led to Cleo begging him to not break up with her and sending paragraphs about how much she loved him until he was satisfied. More screenshots show his temperament after he lost an Overwatch League match against the Houston Outlaws.
Afterwards, Violet down, big charge from Muma, gets 3, and that will be the Outlaws taking the ball and taking a lead in this series.
And they come out with the Sombra Doomfist. Finally, the Outlaws playing to their strengths, bringing Dante back into the roster, and that sets them up 1-0.
I'm sorry, love. Text when you can. I love you.
First thing I see when I open Twitter is you say, proud of Outlaws or some shit. What the fuck?
What the fuck?
I don't want to read.
That was halfway through the game. I said good for Outlaws for learning, not how to play goats. Don't be mad at me. Obviously I didn't want them to win.
Just tweet on some other account. That's so retarded.
It was just a joke.
Holy shit.
Okay, I'm sorry. I also tweeted more about y'all. I'm sorry.
This conversation continues. Cleo pleads her case to Jay, who is agitated after losing the league match. He berates Cleo for her tweet, saying he hates losing and reading stupid shit, suggesting she should have known better. Cleo says she made the tweet to appease her friends who supported the other team, and this backfired on her.
I didn't know.
After the first map that we lost, I proud of you, Outlaws? Retarded? What the fuck? Holy shit.
All my friends are Outlaws fans.
Holy shit.
I'm sorry.
Cleo follows this exchange with messages between her and an unidentified person on Discord, where she is venting about her frustrations with Jay. She suggests she had been scared of him long before their relationship ended, and that this isn't her being disgruntled now because they broke up. You can see her say she felt like he treated her poorly, and that she was excusing his treatment of her. She also says she feels like Jay didn't view her as being important to him, and that he was just using her for sex. She shows more messages between another person who she says was one of Jay's friends, and the screenshot does suggest someone from the scene is who she is talking to. Within, they discuss Jay's inability to hear or take criticism, and that whenever Cleo would mention anything to him, he would become angry. She suggests Jay is stubborn, and the friend agrees. These messages were from just days before she eventually broke up with him.
I lived in constant fear that he would find something to be mad about, and I'd have to play his game of begging him not to leave. It was like he was weeding me through hoops and testing me constantly, and I'd fail the tests all the time.
The final allegation is similar to her first. However, she suggests Jay has enabled his current girlfriend, Emmyuh, to spread lies about her. According to Cleo, Emmyuh had made many accusations suggesting she was harassing her through sock accounts. Cleo denies this, says she doesn't have any malice towards Emmyuh, and says she's worried about her because of Jay. She also says Emmyuh had called her crazy and said she had a victim complex, suggesting Jay is responsible for this as he supposedly characterized her as a monster.
She thinks I hate her because I made one TikTok joking about Jay's role in their relationship. She's made multiple tweets, TikToks, talked about me on stream, etc., but I don't feel the need to lash out at her whatsoever. I hope it helps her see that I understand her and I don't want any bad for her.
Cleo continues. She says Emmyuh doesn't accurately know who she is, and that Jay's lies had manipulated the perspective of those around him.
I allowed him to make people believe these things about me because I was way too scared to fight back.
She concludes her story with the reason why she was coming forward, suggesting the damage from the relationship and what happened during it was still impacting her. She had to exclude herself from various interests, called hotlines numerous times, talked in anonymous groups, spent a year in therapy, had nightmares and countless nights of laying in bed thinking what she had done to deserve this.
Seeing people I love praise him regularly while I'm still dealing with trying to heal from mistreatment is wearing me down. But until now, no one knew that he wasn't this incredible person that he pretends to be. He's not reformed. He didn't stop being toxic. He just moved on from bullying kids in-game to putting down someone who loved and supported him. He is a liar. He is a manipulator.
She finishes the document by responding to hypothetical comments or questions as to why she may not have done certain things in different ways, and that those who don't stand with her probably weren't going to anyway. At this stage, Cleo's story is credible in principle. She has included receipts, which show a small snippet of her frustrations with Jay and show his behaviour through messages. But she also included the audio clip, which is something we have to trust her word for in its context. However, her description of the story itself is believable and is very similar to what other women share and experience frequently. So what we can conclude at this stage is that the relationship was clearly toxic, and there's a certain immaturity with some of what was described, but more importantly, it brought attention to the idea of consent. As expected, allegations of any kind against one of the most popular eSports stars would attract a lot of attention, add sexual assault, and you find yourself in the middle of a crisis. Cleo's tweet has more than 40,000 likes, as well as 10,000 combined retweets, a show of support similar to what we saw with Yvonne's statement during the Fedmyster allegations half a year earlier. Much like with the Fedmyster situation, there were some vocal dissenting opinions and general ignorance that also gathered attention as people reacted to what was happening. One reaction that epitomizes the problem with how people respond to these situations came from the former Overwatch League player and streamer Dafran, whose tweet copped a lot of criticism. Quoting Cleo's tweet,
"We have to wait for Sinatra's side of the story. E-girls can be fucking scary as a Twitch streamer. They'll try to debate or Photoshop evidence and then fuck you. I'm not saying she is one, but she could be. People have been waiting for something to cancel Sinatraa over."
Had he just stopped after the first sentence, maybe he wouldn't have drawn the ire of many in the community.
Something that you cannot gloss over is, as hard as he's trying to make his perspective seem logical, he is completely ignoring the fact that he ultimately based this off of her gender. He's not saying, oh, be careful who you believe on the internet. He is specifically saying, she is a woman, therefore be careful because they will trick you.
Oh, dude, Pokimane calling me a sexist, dude. I don't give a fuck. Give a fuck, dude. Doesn't change my opinion. I truly believe what I'm saying. And I think the world is fucked. I think the world is fucked if it keeps going like this, where you just instantly believe the girl with the accusations. It's just fucked up. You need both sides.
Whilst it is increasingly important to maintain skeptical of what is published online, reducing Cleo to being an e-girl in a pejorative fashion doesn't help introduce a positive conversation. He's suggesting there's an issue with a group of women online, rather than the fact these types of allegations keep coming from within the gaming industry. There were some tweets from others that echoed this sentiment that e-girls are scary, rejecting Cleo's story based on the photos she posted on Twitter. Dafran's dickish response to Pokimane and following tweets don't help illustrate what he was trying to say. More so, he brought attention onto himself and his cynical depiction of Cleo. All that this discourse does is discourage others from sharing their own stories because they are being scrutinized more than what they say. Despite the vocal minority and their supporters, there was a great deal of empathy towards Cleo, and at the same time, there was swift action from key institutions. 3 organizations released statements regarding the situation. Riot, Sentinels, and Overwatch League posted separate responses within a 10-hour period. Riot Games reacted first, stating their acknowledgement of the allegations and that they had launched their own investigation. As a result of this, they announced Jay was suspended from competing in any Valorant competition during the investigation, including the tournament that weekend. 30 minutes later, Jay's eSports team, the Sentinels, released a statement also announcing an internal investigation into the allegations, and that Jay was suspended until they were satisfied with what they find. Then a few hours later, the Overwatch League announced their awareness of the allegations and that they support victims of abuse, which is ironic, as we saw a few months later. They also announced they would be offering in-game refunds for anyone who requested to remove the Alien MVP skin, which was the cosmetic skin that honored Jay's MVP achievement in the 2019 Championship playoffs. This reaction was swift and indicated a zero-tolerance approach by all 3 organizations. All that was left was for Jay to make his own statement, which came a few hours later. He released a twitlonger titled Update.
It is clear from Cleo's recent post that she recalls our relationship differently than I do. What we do agree on is that it was unhealthy for the both of us. I apologize to Cleo and regret how things ended, but I never assaulted her in any way. I am fully cooperating with the investigations and providing the full audio and video clips Cleo referenced in her post.
This is a perfect example of a typical PR response. In just 68 words, Jay denies the allegations, doesn't go into any details, doesn't engage with any of the discourse, and is completely willing to cooperate with any sort of investigation or inquiry. Add in that he remembers things differently and that he's sorry she feels that way. The perfect response. However, the problem with resorting to such a refined response is the fact it lacks any sort of detail that has a defense to the particular incidents and acts he has been accused of, opening the door for people to be skeptical about his character, and it wouldn't be unreasonable for people to side with Cleo after this statement. About 10 minutes later, Cleo responded to him in 2 separate tweets. In the first, she suggested Jay had never apologized to her, and that he didn't even message her personally before releasing his statement. In the second, she comments on him suggesting they record their relationship differently, but says it's true as a result of him being incredibly cruel and she scared. And if you take into consideration her stories of him going to bed and her crying in the shower, how could he remember any of this if he wasn't awake to notice it? Unsurprisingly, Jay didn't respond to Cleo, and ultimately maintained his silence beyond his tweet. As a result, the bulk of public opinion was in support of Cleo's story, and the situation was now in the hands of the organizations to formally investigate. About a month would pass until the situation was brought up again when Cleo released another document providing an update on what was happening. On April the 20th, she tweeted out the document titled More, which was just 3.5 pages long. Within, she provides brief updates and comments on certain issues and developments from her story in March. She begins with a link to a screen recording of a conversation she had with Jay, which she says was a result of her pulling up a transphobic remark from him.
I'm going to give context for this conversation, but I don't have any proof of it because he doesn't say it. We were talking on the phone, and he made a comment about trans people being off, quote unquote, which I said made me feel weird, being that my best friend at the time was trans. Yeah, and then this conversation happened.
She says this was just another example of the way he would speak to her. She then explains the context of the audio clip she used in the first document, saying that it was Jay who filmed it and that it ended with her lying a few feet away from him. She says Jay ended the recording and that she edited the clip just to remove audio of him breathing. As mentioned in Jay's statement, she welcomes him giving the full recording to Riot, suggesting it will show him digging his fingers into her, confident it will benefit her case more than his. Regarding the investigation, she says she has no update on its progress. Then she shows more text where Jay appeared to guilt trip her because she didn't want to have sex.
Sometimes I don't want to have sex and I just want to cuddle, and you don't like that, so I'm scared that one day you're just going to choose someone else.
Why you don't like? I'm ugly?
You're not ugly at all. Sometimes I just want to lay and feel warm and have you hold me.
'Cause I'm ugly?
You're the only person I want to have sex with.
Why don't you want to have sex with me? I'm sad now. You don't like it?
Hey, baby, I do like it. Don't be sad. No, I do like it. I like it.
What am I doing wrong?
Cleo says these types of exchanges were common over text. However, when they had them in person, she says she surrendered to his guilting. She also includes a screenshot of a PayPal transaction from Jay, which she says was for Plan B contraceptive, as he refused to wear a condom, as she said in the initial document. She then discusses the reason why it took her the time it did to come forward with her story, and she claims that Jay's girlfriend Emmyuh was the reason for this. She suggests TikToks made by Emmyuh had discouraged her from speaking out, and that what she was posting had scared her into silence, as she feared defending herself against both Emmyuh and Jay. However, she says she doesn't blame Emmyuh because she was being loyal to Jay.
When trying to deal with and recover from my relationship, having someone just so consistently dragging my name through the mud, it made it hard for me and also kept me from properly moving on. I had friends let me know if she was posting stuff about me because I tried to ignore it. Here are some tweets. There's probably more. All during this time, I hadn't said a singular thing about her. She acknowledged that I wasn't talking about her in messages recently, but I won't share those because she shared some personal information with me that I won't disrespect her by posting.
Finally, she announces that she had filed a police report and had an open case against Jay, but that's all she could say on it. Then she comments on concern regarding her voice in the audio clip, and suggests that it came from a place of fear, that a serious tone would have been perceived by Jay as anger. It's hard to ascertain the reason why she needed to provide more context beyond announcing arguably the most significant development in her story, being the open police case. But we have been given a bit more of an insight into her thinking, as well as more examples of Jay's character. However, the investigations were still ongoing, and not much had changed since March. This document didn't come without reply. Instead, Emmyuh herself responded with her own document aimed squarely at Cleo. After being heavily referenced in the second document, she dropped the impromptu statement as a result of her being dragged into it, despite her belief she held no involvement in the situation. Also saying after speaking to Cleo, she thought they had moved past it. Emmyuh suggests Cleo is directing the narrative and that she isn't accurately depicting her own behaviour, suggesting Cleo had also treated her and Jay poorly and that she was no saint. Emmyuh says this perception isn't because of Jay's influence, but because of what she heard from the Overwatch community. She says Cleo was also the one who started the trend of them making TikToks about each other, and that Cleo would supposedly post tweets about her on a private Twitter account every day. She says she confronted her about it, and that a lot of Emmyuh's friends came forward with claims that Cleo was actually a bully. Emmyuh references a story suggesting Cleo had run a girl out of the community after dating 2 League players and that it made her a whore, but she doesn't have access to this conversation anymore. Emmyuh then attaches various screenshots of anonymous testimonies which suggest Cleo was abusive, had lied about being silenced, why Emmyuh thinks she made accounts to harass her, as well as other things. So let's take a look at these so-called receipts. The first one, I don't exactly understand the conversation, but the following message suggests Cleo bullies people who have lesser followers than her. The next one is a screenshot of Cleo tweeting on a private account where she's talking about Emmyuh and someone else spreading lies about her, and that they have no proof about it because she didn't do it. But the next screenshot suggests Cleo was being hypocritical, and that her friends have admitted she does? I don't know what this one means. Then a very interesting exchange. This person reaches out to Emmyuh and claims Cleo is crazy, suggesting that she had apparently spread a rumor that the person wanted to homewreck her relationship with Jay, and that this person had told others he was cheating on her. This person says Cleo had messaged them pleading ignorance. They continue, alleging Cleo had gone full hate campaign on Emmyuh, and that she was apparently some sort of drama monger. Another exchange suggests Cleo would get her friends to block and ignore certain individuals. The next exchange suggests Cleo was harassing herself on TikTok. There's an allegation she used Jay as a wallet and used that to shit on other people. Continuing, more gossip, and even more gossip. Then Emmyuh suggests Cleo would tweet about murdering Jay midsummer style, and that she would also live tweet when he was playing, telling you the reader to go play detective. She finishes by suggesting that Jay did not influence her perception of Cleo, and that he had only spoken of the relationship when they first started their friendship. She also suggests Cleo had once got angry at Jay for liking one of Emmyuh's selfies, and that this was when they weren't together. She suggests her opinion was formed from that of others, and that it's not because Cleo dated a boy she liked. In the sign-off, she says she is still with Jay, has heard his side, and that she has never felt unsafe with him, and that people should hear him out when he releases a statement. Now, I understand Emmyuh's frustration of being brought up and feeling defenseless or whatnot, but at the same time, why engage? Especially bringing screenshots that are heavily lacking context from anonymous people that are equivalent to high school gossip. Hell, it makes the locale forums seem reasonable. It's fine to come out in support of your boyfriend, but at the same time, you're just showing how immature you are and how immature most of the people involved are as well, which at the end of the day doesn't help Jay. Just because Cleo was a gossip girl doesn't mean she wasn't abused, so this response was pointless and stoked the flames of rumor. Needless to say, she gave us a lot more than what Jay did. Speaking of, we haven't heard from him in a bit. Well, that was until May.
Those investigations are still ongoing, so he's not allowed at this moment in time during these investigations to compete professionally.
Developer Riot Games has handed the Sentinels player a 6-month competitive ban.
We now have responses from both sides in response to the investigation, which did give out a punishment to Sinatraa just yesterday.
Shortly after the ruling went public, claiming that he spent the last 2 months reflecting on how he could become a better person and learn from his mistakes.
May 18, 2021. Competitive ruling. J. Sinatraa 1 has violated Rule 8.1 of the Valorant Global Competition Policy for failing to fully cooperate with the tournament operator's investigation and will be suspended for 6 months. He will also be required to complete professional conduct training. The Valorant League officially announced a development in the Sinatraa investigation, and that was due to him not fully cooperating with the investigators. Here's what they had to say. To conduct the investigation, the competitive operations team partnered with Riot's investigative team to begin an objective and neutral fact-gathering exercise to evaluate whether Sinatra's behaviour was in conflict with the VCT global competition policy. During the course of the fact-gathering, the competitive operations team was informed that the matter had been referred to law enforcement, so at this juncture, we would refer to the authorities to make further investigation into and factual findings related to the allegations. While the investigation did not come to a definitive conclusion on the underlying allegations, the competitive operations team had serious concerns with Sinatra's conduct during the course of the investigation. It was determined that on at least 2 occasions, Sinatraa misrepresented certain facts, made false statements, and did not cooperate with the investigation in a way expected of a professional Valorant eSports player. Sinatra's public commitment on social media to provide the full audio and video clip referenced in the original post was never fulfilled. Cooperation in these investigations is of the utmost importance, especially when the nature of the allegations is as serious as sexual assault. This behaviour will not be tolerated by Valorant eSports. Within the context of a personal relationship, this is an incredibly complicated allegation to investigate and definitively adjudicate. To the extent that additional material information comes to light, from law enforcement or otherwise, the competitive operations team reserves the right to reopen the investigation and take further appropriate action. The statement concludes that Jay had violated Rule 8.1 and thus received a 6-month suspension as a result, which he had already served 2 months of, essentially needing to wait for an additional 4 months until he can play again competitively. What this tells us is, of course, law enforcement was now involved, which was something we already knew. Because they were involved, the investigators decided to leave it with them. With it, their investigation would be concluded without any definitive answer, but they would punish Jay for breaching the rules regarding his cooperation, or lack thereof. They also say they can't investigate the personal relationship allegations because it is too complex to do so, suggesting if anything else does come up, they will reopen the investigation to take action if they deem necessary. So essentially, whether or not Jay was abusive is still up for debate, and it was being investigated by the real authorities. A 6-month ban, of which a third he'd already served, does seem like a slap on the wrist, but you can't punish somebody based on optics. Any further action or punishment at this point would be from a legal perspective, and having that hang over your head is probably punishment in itself. Jay later responded on Twitter in another twit longer.
I spent the last 2 months reflecting on how I could be better as a person. I've been a pro player for basically all of my adult life, and still have a lot to improve on. I've been reflecting a ton during the downtime and know how much I hurt Cleo emotionally, and I'm truly sorry about it. I will learn from my mistakes and keep on trying to improve myself as a person.
6 words more than his original response, and after a great deal of reflection, he admits he had actually hurt Cleo emotionally. I guess he doesn't recall their relationship differently, after all. He then follows up with a comment on the investigation itself.
I want to preface this by saying I do not have the video and audio that she used in her statement. After our relationship ended, she had asked me to delete the video, and I honored that. I've never even imagined a situation like this, so when it all happened, I didn't know whether to just spill out my side or not. I had no clue what to do, so I seeked legal help immediately. As we were drafting up an update with the legal PR team, we had added that I would provide the video because we genuinely thought that the video would have to be shared in full since it's a key part in the investigation. However, that did not happen, and I should not have promised something I could not personally deliver. This entire experience has been a humbling and an opportunity for me to come out the other side a better person. I now have an additional 4 months away from competitive play to spend time trying to develop a better set of interpersonal skills, and to earn back the trust of this community. Again, I am truly sorry to everyone I let down or hurt.
First things first, as predicted, the initial response was in fact drafted by a PR robot, so the extent of how genuine that statement was shouldn't be a point of debate, it was just a deflection. Already with the language used in this statement, you can tell there's less PR influence involved. For example, they wouldn't approve the first part of his statement because he's essentially admitting to half of the allegations. He also suggests this experience has humbled him in the space of just 2 months. Amazing character development, and that over the next 4 he was going to spend time trying to build on the development of his character. He also says he wants to earn back the trust of the community, which I would argue he lost because he resorted to a vague PR response rather than actually plead his innocence. It also doesn't help that Emmy's statement suggested Jay would actually have something to say about the situation. Then Cleo responded again in her own twit longer.
I'll start by saying that I never once told him to delete the video. I did not care whatsoever if he kept it or not. He took the video and sent it to me. It was just in our text thread because I never delete texts.
She goes on to say Riot never asked for the video during their investigation, despite her being open to sharing it with them. She says she complied with the investigation, which required little of her, putting into question whether Riot actually intended to investigate the allegations or if they were just reacting to a very public situation. She then responded to Jay's apology.
I personally don't care for his apology or his reflecting, and don't care for the fact that my posting about the abuse I faced at his hands humbled him. There is no apology that he can give me that will mean anything to me. If he had genuinely reflected, then he wouldn't be making jokes about coming back soon. If he was truly humbled, he would understand that making a statement about growing from this, when the this in question was emotionally and sexually abusing me, is completely inappropriate. So yes, he refused to comply with the investigation. He was caught in multiple lies and didn't give a video that would have proved his innocence. He gave an apology that I would never at any point in my life be accepting because it is entirely too late. The legal aspect will develop slowly and depends entirely on my emotional strength when it comes to dealing with law enforcement and detectives, which has so far been one of the most traumatizing things I've done in my life.
She reflects on the past months and says it has been hard for her, and says she didn't expect her story to be so significant. What's more is she gives a reason for why she deleted the second document, suggesting she hadn't cropped screenshots properly. But more importantly, she admits it was from a place of anger and possibly frustration with people applauding his return to playing.
I want to be able to move on from this and just exist like I always have in the past and talk about the Overwatch League with my friends without getting death threats and called a whore. I hope people can understand that if he was truly innocent, he would have complied with the investigation like he said he was going to in the first place. But instead, he lied to the investigators and refused to participate.
Cleo's revelation about the extent of Riot's investigation and the suggestion that Jay refused to take part in it raises concerns about Riot's and Jay's integrity alike. Her refusal of his apology and apparent enlightenment is understandable, but the mention of the legal aspect taking time means this was not over in the slightest, and it could take months, if not over a year, for there to be a final conclusion. The announcement of his suspension received a lot less attention than when the allegations dropped. It didn't stop Dafran chiming in again, and his stance was a lot less subtle. In a few tweets, he attracted attention towards himself again, first of all suggesting Jay wasn't found guilty despite Riot's statement not concluding anything, and saying that further investigation would be left to law enforcement. He also suggests he took a win because he dismissed Cleo as being crazy. He then complains about the response to his tweets, saying he was being attacked by the MeToo movement and delusional Pokimane feminists. He suggests he was defending Jay because he had to balance out the misinformation because people had adjudged him to be a rapist. He concludes by suggesting Riot had unsuspended Jay, but they had actually concluded their investigation by officially suspending him for 6 months. He says people are coping and suggests because Riot doesn't have the legal power to investigate sexual assault, them passing it onto law enforcement and unsuspending him was a supposed big deal. As a result of the further statements, it's not surprising the general public opinion wasn't in Jay's favour. However, as someone who was one of the biggest names in eSports, he still had a core following that offered him support, and Dafran's attitude, albeit extreme, somewhat reflected the general idea they showed. Although he was suspended from competitive play, Jay was free to do whatever he wanted as he wasn't imposed with any other restrictions. He took to Twitch 2 days after the announcement and continued to play Valorant, and from there, his popularity on the platform skyrocketed.
It's like, come on, bro.
Two garage right now.
By the time August hit, he was bringing in 50,000 followers and more than 2 million views per month. His YouTube channel with clips from his streams was also growing at an increasing rate. But in the meantime, his Twitter was silent, until this cute little woofer started to appear. Keeping with the trend, it seems Jay decided to get a dog. I don't know what insightful analysis I can give on this, I just find it funny every time someone is accused of something serious, they get a dog. Oh, and he's also continued going to the gym. poetry. All that's missing is the obnoxious return video. Right, Fedmyster?
But now I also want to inspire people to be better. To, like me, seek to be the best version of themselves.
Despite his seemingly innocuous return, it didn't come without protest. Jay decided he would reach out to his former teammate Shaz to play duos on Valorant, as they were both live at the time. Shaz agreed and they played together. However, over time, Shaz's chat protested the fact he was playing with Jay.
Yeah, turn it to sub mode, I don't mean to shut down people. Like, I understand a lot of valid reasons, but I didn't think it would turn to this. I feel like it's best not to involve myself, I guess. I don't know. Just got asked to play. I don't know, I got put on the spot. Like, it's an impossible situation, my bad. No, I'm just gonna solo after this.
This leaked into Jay's own chat as well.
It's so dumb, bro. Maybe not. I just wish people knew, man. It's so sad. It's just so sad, bro. Fuck my life.
This happened a few weeks after his suspension was announced. People did not like him at all, and if anyone dared to collaborate with him, well, then they were met with criticism. The Riot investigation had ceased. However, a police investigation was still ongoing, and Jay's response also didn't help his image. However, he kept to it, and was gaining more Twitch popularity every week. September hit, and on the 10th, Jay was no longer suspended from competitive play, and it was suggested many competitive organizations wanted to sign him up. Dafran joined in again and offered nothing but conjecture to the conversation and possibly misled a few thousand people.
Sinatraa is no longer banned, and a lot of teams are interested in him. Cleo dropped the charges. I'm incredibly disappointed by all the streamers and organizations who immediately judged him as guilty. We'll never know what happened. It's annoying as fuck, but nothing was proven.
Cleo responded saying she didn't drop the charges. Dafran's contribution to the conversation was yet again unhelpful and ignorant to the situation at hand. Speculation was rife during this period, and the eSports talk host Jake Lucky added more confusion with a tweet he later corrected, suggesting there would be no further investigation into Sinatraa. However, this was already known from the statement 4 months earlier, and that any further investigation could happen if more information was supplied or anything came from the police investigation. Apparently, Cleo said she wouldn't pursue the investigation any further, and that was cited from a deleted tweet in April. The investigation would only be reopened if they have new information. Now, in regards to the talk of him being snapped by other teams, eSports Talk also speculated that Riot themselves had asked teams to refrain from signing him, and the teams don't want to make it public knowledge that they are interested in him.
Someone simply asks him the question, is Riot asking teams to not sign Sinatraa? And George responds, one source has told me that is the case. Yes, this is not confirmed and will be reported if I have the new info confirmed. And then you have other responses out there, some excited, some the exact opposite of that, others saying that's a low ball for number of teams. So if Vanity says that, then certainly a lot more than just 4 teams we're talking about considering taking on Sinatraa. But as he also said, not making it past internal staff or just not making it past the trial either. Certainly have heard a sprinkle of names of teams, but probably not going to feel comfortable naming those teams because clearly they don't want their names out there either.
Whether this turns out to be true is yet to be seen. Even if he doesn't play professional Valorant, he doesn't need to. His numbers on Twitch are growing, racking in thousands of concurrent viewers per stream, and with 1.2 million followers, it's not like he doesn't have a career beyond competitive play. I mean, look at how XQC's career panned out.
A chicken?
At the end of it, unless some substantial finding from law enforcement comes forward, Jay's life hasn't been ruined, nor has he been cancelled as people tried to suggest. He was held accountable, he acknowledged at least half of his serious mistakes, and hopefully he's learned how to treat and respect people.
Don't even mention that fucking name in my fucking name.
Bullseye.
I reached out to Cleo to see if she wanted to talk about her story, and she denied, saying she doesn't want to talk about it anymore. I think this is fair, and moving forward, if anything does come up, it may be from a legal perspective. For now, all we can do is look back and reflect on how this unfolded, how people responded, and what we can learn from it. When it comes to situations where there are two sides to a story, there's always going to be a difference in opinion on which is more accurate. Until there's a technology that can rebuild scenarios from a person's memory, all we can do is put together the facts in the most accurate way possible and make an informed judgment from there. I don't think it's unreasonable to think without conclusive legal judgment that there's truth to Cleo's story based on other stories we've heard from women who have experienced some form of abuse. It's a conversation that needs to continue. There is a prevalent issue across the world that affects mostly women. In fact, it's estimated that 1 in 3 women will experience some sort of violence in their lifetime. One such experience is when consent is ignored. You'd think it'd be easy to understand when someone is uncomfortable, incapable, or that when they say no, they mean no. But the reality is that this isn't the case, and time again, for some reason, we are shocked when someone comes forward and says it happened to them. Why we treat it as an anomaly when someone popular is accused is based on ignorance. It's been an issue for a very long time. It's now just people have a platform to speak out. On the very few occasions where stories have been embellished, the reaction towards those who levied them has been severe. But in a case where there's no evidence of embellishments and there's been admittance of some fault, I don't see any issue for people to make their own judgments on what we know. It also means you can choose to continue to support Jay, and that's fine. But you can't deny there's a serious issue within the gaming industry that he has contributed towards. But the issue is greater than just him. The same year, Activision Blizzard was thrown into the spotlight when the company was alleged to have fostered a culture where sexual harassment, discrimination, and retaliation was prevalent. One of the biggest publishers in the gaming industry was at the forefront of one of the biggest scandals to face the gaming industry, and the fallout is still ongoing. A massive institution was accused of having a systemic issue, which is not a great look for an industry already facing negative stereotypes. But it's not just the companies and organizations either. Individuals are also getting allegations levied against them. Recently, another Valorant player was accused of similar behavior by an ex-girlfriend in a short Twitlonger statement. Chenny, who went by Luma and is now Calico, says they were assaulted by their former boyfriend and pro Valorant player Frosty or Ashton when they first met. Similar to Cleo's story, on one of the nights they were together, Chenny says he initiated contact, but they told him they were in pain. He ignored this, and halfway through, Chenny had a panic attack. Ashton had supposedly apologized, and Chenny kept it to himself. They were coming out with the story because they didn't want it to happen to anyone else. Chenny also shared screenshots of Ashton's messages after they had denied his request for sex at their house. Ashton's team, the Pittsburgh Knights, announced he was suspended and that there will be a third-party investigation into the allegations. Earlier this year, Chenny revealed they were sent a cease and desist from Ashton's legal team, a questionable action as there was an investigation ongoing into his alleged behaviour. On the 12th, Chenny tweeted they had an interview with the investigators, and 2 weeks later, the Knights released a statement announcing the investigation had concluded. According to the Knights, the investigator held the opinion that Ashton did not commit an assault on July 26, but over 90 pages of evidence indicated that his conduct was inappropriate, disrespectful, and didn't adhere to the standards of a professional player. However, they also say Ashton might be subject to future punishment. Riot is also yet to make a judgment on the findings. Another case where there is still no definite conclusion, and one that can only go further if Chenny decides to take it to the police or seek legal counsel, which at this point is unlikely. All we can do is continue the conversation, educate, progress the discourse, and keep sharing stories. Although it's a new year, it doesn't mean the issues from those prior have stopped being important, and what we saw early last year is a testament to that. What comes from it is yet to be seen, but I can say with authority there will be more cases like this. It's just a matter of when. What's needed is consistency, and the coverage of these situations needs to dispel any speculation and stick to the known facts. At the end of it all, to avoid things like this in the future, as I've said before, just be decent. I've been BWC, thank you for watching, goodbye.